This is our third instalment of our videocast that myself and Coach Joel have been presenting, and we are very pleased today to have our special guest with us, which is Coach Amy, who the majority of people listening to this will know. So, very simple, like the other ones. We've got a few different questions that we're going to talk about and let Coach Amy elaborate on, and hopefully everyone finds this insightful and useful. So first up, Coach Joel, how you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Yeah,
hanging on in there.
All good. College
How
work,
are you?
not too bad, thank you. Hanging in there as well. Did my grocery store trip today. A little bit crazy, but all good. All right, Amy, how are you?
I'm alright considering.
Fantastic. For those that don't know, Amy is obviously still in Ireland. Obviously was due to be out in the US around about this week, but obviously due to the delayed start in the season, is obviously on hold until we get up and running again. Obviously, it would make no sense her coming out now because there'd be nothing for her to do other than stay inside her room, which she's doing right now, as you can all see. So, but Amy, it's a pleasure to have you here, and obviously. Our goal here is to talk a little bit more about the women's game, which myself and Coach Joel have said we wanted to. We've got a couple of guests lined up over the next few instalments that are female guests, so we're hoping that this draws in more of the female crowd to listen to it. But also, again, myself and Coach Joel as males, we both thrive in the women's game as well. We both coach teams in the women's game, so it's a fantastic topic to talk about. So let's get this going. All right, Amy. So obviously, I know a lot of people know who you are, but they might not know your backstory. So what we'll do is, if you could just give us a little debrief, really, on how you got into soccer at a young age. I'm assuming as a player. What got you into it?
I think it kind of most kids, in Ireland and, across Europe are into sports in some way. I kind of grew up with my dad, my two brothers, so I kind of had, no choice. Man United are on the TV constantly. We had rugby on the TV, Gaelic football, all different sports, and soccer was just kind of the sport I took to easiest. It was what all the kids out in the street were playing and stuff. So it was my first sport. I actually played rugby first, but again, there was no girls teams in rugby, so quickly had to leave that. There actually was no, girls soccer teams either. But eventually, when I was about 12, 13, finally found a team. Kind of took it from there.
That's awesome. So you obviously, and again, I know you're a few years younger than me, Amy, but I know when I was 12, 13, there was no girls teams in England whatsoever, and the few girls that did play had to play on a boys team. But obviously, and you said it was similar to yourself. But when you transitioned into playing on a sole girls team, how did you find the interest on all the other girls playing? Were they just playing it for fun, or was it like they were playing it to succeed?
A lot of them. So I started I was playing on my brother's team, on a boys' team, but and most people didn't have a problem with it until you're good, and then parents on the other teams then started having a problem with it. So I kind of had to go to another town about 25 minutes away from where I live to find a team, and I was there about 2 months. Team folded because girls didn't have the interest. Then I went to another team, same thing happened, and then I finally found it. The team I was with from U14 up to kind of when I was 18, but still it was some days I could have 6 at a game. There was like a 2-year period where we didn't have training sessions because girls just didn't show up. It was you're pulling girls in from other teams, giving them, you're Kira today, or you're Mary, pretend you're this name, but just to have them on the team playing just to make up the numbers. But it was very frustrating. I could imagine. Super competitive. My players probably know that, parents see me on the sidelines, bit competitive. But most of the other girls, kind of 99% of them, just it was a social thing.
Yeah.
You know, they just didn't have the interest.
So,
in it.
you go, John.
Going back to the when you were on the boys' team, like a co-ed team, how did you find that?
Yeah, it was. You know, the boys didn't really. You know, it was kind of like, oh wow, she can kick a ball. Oh, you know, it was kind of.
Yeah.
They meant probably well, but you know, it was kind of. You know, you kind of don't belong or whatever, and
Yeah.
people are like, oh, pass the girl the ball, and you know. But I remember one day we were playing a match, and the other team weren't great, and I think I scored like 8 goals or something like that,
Yeah.
and there was just absolute war. The parents like ran over to my brother's manager after the match, like, this is a disgrace, blah blah blah. She shouldn't be playing, and I was just like, you know, but boys kind of, when they see that, you know, you're good enough, they'll accept it. But like the amount of times, you know, playing out in the streets and whatever, like if you're anyway good, sometimes they can kind of turn on you as well. Like, you know, a lot of boys don't like to see girls better than them or taking the ball off them. So like, you know, then it was just like, oh, you're not playing with us, you know what I mean? Go home.
Yeah.
Type of thing. But it definitely like maybe a bit more physical, and it definitely improved my game, I think, a lot. Growing up playing with boys.
That's understandable. It's funny you say it, because I remember when I was a kid playing, and again, I'm talking like U13s now, 17 years ago. I remember the same. We'd have our team, obviously majority boys, and we might play against a team, and they might have a girl on the team. And I remember back then, for the way the culture was and the mindset of a young boy, then it was, what, they got a girl on their team? What's that all about? And obviously now, like, again, that's just because, as you said, there was a lot less girls playing in the game back then. So it's great to see it, you know, changing from them. Like, and it's funny that you said about that you said about when you first started playing. They're like, oh wow, she can actually strike a ball. And that was, it's funny. I think I've said this story before in here. When I came to the US in 2012, and I'd not really seen girls soccer back home in England, because it still wasn't that big at all. And my first day here in the US, I saw one of our U13 or U12 girls teams, a couple of the players ping a ball 30 yards, bring it down on the first touch, and I was amazed by it. Again, that's what it was. It was very inspiring, as we spoke about. I know I spoke about last week. So it's funny how just the growth of the girls' game has changed dramatically from when we were all young to now in terms of numbers, which is
even in the last
superb.
2 years, because I've been, you know, since I've been here in the winter, I've been doing a bit of training and stuff, and I've been, you know, watching.
That's good.
You know, under 19, under 17 girls play, and the level of them now compared to 5 years ago or 2 years ago is just, you know, you can't even compare it. Like, girls, kind of, when I was younger, a lot of them looked awkward, uncoordinated, you know, playing soccer, where now, like, I wouldn't even fall into a match or a scrimmage with some of the 19-year-olds, 17-year-olds, because they're just, a lot of the girls, you know, I was watching play for Ireland now, and it's mad even girls had the opportunity to play for Ireland, because when I was younger, I didn't even know there was women played soccer. My kind of highest aspirations were to play with my local Sunday League women's team, where like it was just a complete sociable thing. You know, all girl, you know, the women played a match and then went out after the match, or you know, and then they wouldn't train, or so that was kind of what I thought the highest level of women's soccer was. I didn't know they could play professionally, so it's kind of dramatic.
So here's a question for you, Amy. So you said there about how you said when you were younger, the female players might look a little bit awkward with their technique. So obviously technique is improved. Would you put that down to obviously girls playing soccer more, maybe studying the game, or put it down to maybe the coaching that they're getting, or the more focus that the women's game is getting, coaching, or a bit of both? What would you put that down to?
I would put it mainly down to more girls playing out in the street with
makes sense.
Boys and stuff, because that's where, you know, most of us learned how to play soccer. Like I don't ever remember a coach telling me how to kick a ball. This is how you put your foot to pass. We kind of repetition, being out in the road or being out in the fields for hours a day, doing it, you're practicing what's best for you and stuff, so
Yeah.
a lot more girls are more comfortable doing that, because I think boys are a bit more tolerable and accepting as well, because again, the amount of times I used to run home crying because, the boys around my house in the state just completely turned on me if, I got the ball off them and stuff.
Yeah.
And I was the only girl out playing soccer. But yeah, now you drive around and it's kind of 50-50 boys and girls
That's awesome.
Yeah.
playing.
That's great.
So, unfortunately, I've been watching a lot of coaching as well,
Yeah.
and here in Ireland, and it's still, a lot of shouting, get rid of the ball,
Mhm.
all this. So it's, unfortunately, Ireland still has that culture of get rid of it
Yeah.
type of thing.
Yeah.
If you make a mistake, if you try and do something creative, you're going to be taken off the field
Yeah.
type of a thing. So we're still behind
Still behind, but
on that aspect of, yeah.
yeah. Well, those changes will start to happen in a more
Mhm.
positive light, because, like I said, you've already seen that dramatic growth and improvement over the last 5-10 years. So that's hopefully
Yeah.
only going to continue. So, all right. So obviously, good to find out a little bit about how you grew up in the game. Now, very interesting and probably very different for if we take a lot of the girls teams you've coached out here in the US,
Yeah.
the way you were brought up playing the game is probably very different to how the players you coach right now work. Because obviously the players you coach right now were playing at the age of 4, all girls soccer, and obviously had coaches like yourself, and so it's been obviously very different. Very different. So hopefully they find it, interesting. I know I definitely did. So obviously let's go a little bit into you as a player very briefly, because I know obviously you played in the Irish leagues out there as you got older, and I know my question for you, Amy, is: are you a goalkeeper or an outfield player? Because you've played both with me and Coach Joel, in goal and on field, and you're good at both.
Yeah.
I used to hate playing in goal, to be honest. Like, I was always kind of put in goal because I was good at it if our goalkeeper wasn't there.
Yeah.
And that actually, coincidentally, was Coach Sarah that used to,
Yeah. Well, yes.
coach with Shelton.
Yeah.
So when she kind of went to America to coach, I was asked, "Oh, will you go and goal?" And I was reluctant, and then my teammates would pressure on me, so I ended up going and goal. But I didn't like it. I felt like I wasn't at the time an influence on the game, and I usually played like center back, was very loud, dominant on the field, probably a small bit mouthy on the field.
It's good to be mouthy on the field. It's all good.
I like to get stuck into it, but as kind of I was asked more and more and more to go and goal as I was older, I was like, look, I'm not going to progress by chopping and changing, not being consistent in where I'm playing. So I was like, I just turned to my manager one day. I said, look, I'm either a goalkeeper or, I'm a centre back.
Yeah.
And he said, look, we're stuck for a goalkeeper. So I was like, all right, so I started playing in goal.
Yeah.
And then I went to college, and then because, it's not the norm to play soccer, and being in college and stuff, it's not as big as it is in America. I stopped playing soccer for a year, but then I actually discovered women's soccer, and I started watching the likes of Hope Solo and Ashton Harris, and I was like, oh, they're pretty good, I can do that type of thing. So I started training with the local Irish men's national league team, because I knew the manager, and I just kind of took it from there and started enjoying playing goalkeeper.
That's a good story, Amy.
Yeah, I found it interesting how you said that as a goalkeeper, you felt like you didn't make as much of an influence on the game. So I remember when I was younger, I was kind of like a backup goalkeeper as well, and I loved going in there because I thought it's like if a striker beats the whole team, then I'm the one person that can stop him. And like, I'm the biggest influence on that. But it's interesting how you kind of flip that to being kind of the opposite, how you don't have as much influence in that. I just found that interesting.
Yeah, I think it was more based on, like, again, the girls I played with on the team, they didn't really care. They were the type, you know, that would laugh when they lost the ball, or you know, they just, you know, they'd lose the ball and stand there, which my players know is like that. You know, my pet peeve.
When you can't do anything, that'll just frustrate you.
Yeah, like at least if you're an outfield player, if somebody loses the ball, you can be there, you know, to win it back, or you know, you can be there to give your team a talking to. But yeah, definitely as I got older, that mindset, or you know, my mindset definitely changed to like, you know, you can win or lose a game if you're a goalkeeper. You make one mistake and you know, you've hugely.
Or you make one great save, you've changed the game.
Yeah. So and it's a lot of pressure. It's more pressure, I think, than a lot of the outfield positions, definitely. So I think I liked that as I got older.
I think the reason why a lot of younger kids don't like going in goal is because of the pressure of it.
Yes. Yeah, it is. It's
make 10 saves. As soon as they concede one goal, that's it.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, Joel. A little side topic that I haven't got on my notes, but it's just the beauty of these calls is that we can veer off into whatever. Do you think parents are reluctant to let their child go in goal at a younger age? This day, I don't know about you. I personally do. I think there's a lot of parents because they feel like it's a weak position sometimes, or like it's, you know, where in fact it's the most valuable player on the field, on the pitch sometimes. And actually, I think majority of do many kids grow up wanting to be a goalkeeper? Probably not. They probably develop into that position, but the amount of players that you see once they place a focus as a goalkeeper, they make huge strides, and ultimately, you know, it's a good pathway for them into the game. I mean, we're fortunate; we've got some amazing goalkeepers in our Shelton program, but there's loads across the whole world and across the state we're in at various levels. And I think I think what definitely helps is clinics to get players to interact with it and hand-eye coordination skills. And I think there's a lot of parents that do buy into, you know what, I like my kid to learn to play goalie, but I definitely feel like there's a perception of, I don't want my kid to be a goalie, or I don't know why that is, because again, I have sometimes it might be a physical factor or a fear of injury factor with, you know, especially kids at a young age can strike a ball hard this time and all that and I can relate to that somewhat, but I definitely feel like parents shouldn't be afraid of wanting their child to you know, experience playing as a goalkeeper, because I definitely feel like sometimes players come with a fear sometimes of, I don't want to play goal because my parent doesn't want me to, and I think that's there. And sometimes there's valuable reasons, but from a soccer specific area of it, I think all parents and players should be open to playing the position from a younger age, or at least learning to play the position, because it's you know, I think once you never know as a player what that switch might be to think, you know what, I like this position. Because I think, and again, I know there's lots of goalkeepers that have come through our program who maybe didn't start as a goalkeeper, but came to a few clinics or played in goal a few games and suddenly thought, you know what, I want to play this position now, and have gone on to be, you know, future high school varsity goalkeepers, and some are on their way to that. And I think it's definitely a position where you know, parents and players have to be open to a little bit more, because unfortunately, I think goalkeepers can be somewhat a dying breed at times if there's not enough goalkeepers doing it. But it's such a valuable position, and they're still a soccer player. Like for me as a coach, if I have a goal in my team, they're involved in every aspect of technical work that the players are doing. You know, whether it's, you know, again, a pattern of play, you know, any different possession orientated activities, and the goalies are in that, and I think they should be. And obviously, their goalkeeping parts of it, you know, you can include them into the game situations, and obviously they can do their one-on-one sessions with that as well. But yeah, interesting topic that, and one maybe again, Joel, we'll write it down in our notes. We should do an all goalkeeping purpose videocast at some point, not to go off. Again, me and yourself, Joe, are not obviously goalies ourselves, but yeah, good position either way. So, all right, Amy, we'll move it across now, obviously, into your coaching game. When did you transition, and why, into coaching?
So when I was playing in the women's national league here, I think it was 2015, I was doing a coaching course at the same time, kind of like a college course, but lower level kind of college course. And to be honest, I was just doing it because I was getting coaching qualifications out of it.
Yeah.
I was playing soccer every day. It was convenient, but I never had any intentions of playing soccer. I was like 19. I was thought I'd be playing for years and years and years, ahead. But we used to do like camps and stuff, and we did a camp with the charity Down Syndrome Ireland.
Yeah.
And we did that camp for a week, and just seeing like the smiles on the kids' faces and how like appreciative the parents were, like that was like the switch. I was like, this is what I want to do. Like I literally went from the day before, like, I'm not coaching, I'm 19, I want to play, to like, no, this is all I want to do.
Yeah.
But still, like, I never really seen female coaches, like all through growing up. Never seen a female coach.
Yeah.
And didn't know much about coaching, so it was kind of put to the side again. Never thought about it. Did a few summer camps as part of the course. Did my C license, and then just got the opportunity then to come out to America, and best decision I've ever made.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's an interesting pathway, probably similar to myself, myself and Joel. So what? Obviously, you're still a very young coach, Amy, as well. So obviously, as we talk about, coaches are always developing and finding their feet as a coach. What's a strength that you think you have as a coach, like in a part of your, or something that you think that is maybe was a weaker part that you've developed into your coaching toolbox, as we call it?
Definitely how I communicate with the players.
Yeah.
And how I deal with players. That's kind of, I'm not the most knowledgeable coach, or, tactically probably I have a lot to learn on that, but interpersonal skills, that's definitely my strength, and that's something I never had growing up. Outside of soccer, I was completely shy in school. I just didn't show up to school presentations because I couldn't speak in front of people.
Yeah.
So coaching and soccer kind of, allowed me to improve on that. And now, I'm at summer camps, or I'm at, coaching or rec, and I'm speaking in front of 20, 30, 40 kids. And it's helped me in that way. It's kind of helping me as much as I'm helping the kids. But I find definitely, and just feedback from the kids, that how I relate to them, and empathy type of thing, relating to the kids, and allowing again, nothing against male coaches to female players, but I think the girls can kind of feel comfortable in, asking me things, and asking my opinion, where like a male coach probably wouldn't have gone through the same things as a female player, because I think females feel a lot of pressure sometimes.
Yeah.
More so than males, and you can see that on the field. Like, you see young boys and they're doing all their tricks and all this, and I don't think, unfortunately, females have that confidence yet to kind of do that. And there's a lot of anxiety and worries if they make a mistake, where they can ask me, and why do I feel this way and stuff. And it's just relating to the kids.
I think that's spot on, Amy, and I know that's definitely a strength that I saw in you when you come to the US and started working with us. And I know it's funny you say how, again, having female coaches in any program or any form of leadership is so important. For development of the boys and girls game. And I've said this before. I think the importance of a female role model for female players is so important for them to have at times. And you said about it there. I think myself and Coach Joel, again, we both coach girls teams, and I think we do a great job at it. But there's certain things that I think yourself as a female, you're always going to, female players and young girl players are always going to aspire to a female coach just that little bit more. I think that's I think that's very important. I mean, prime example would be our League One program where we have 100 3 to 5 year old girls, and they adore you, and I think that's important. I think and it's a good. And then as you go older, to take your U13s and U10s, and every age group's different. And I think there's certain things that they can relate to you with that they couldn't do with, say, myself and Coach Joel. I think it's important. And but also what I want to compliment you on, Amy, and I think this is a part where I think as coaching organisations and coaching in general needs to get better. Is I definitely feel like female coaches get pinned to only coaching girls' teams, and I actually think, and whereas a male coach has a girls' team and a boys' team, and I know, and again, there's lots of reasons why or perceptions why, but I think that's something that has to change, because I know with you, Amy, even though you coach girls' teams in our program, you coach plenty of boys' teams in sessions and clinics and whatever, and even with, if I go back to our pre-season tournament we did with the older teams over in North Brantford, I, as a director of coaching, had no problem saying, Amy, I need you to coach the U14 boys today. And I think the U14 boys knew straight away, Amy's my coach today. I respect her. I'm going to do whatever she tells me to do. Done. No problem. And I think that's
kind of a compliment to the boys in the program too, because I've seen the other side of it, where when I coached in New Jersey, I've shown up to sessions where, their normal coach, was unavailable. And the boys just looked at me like, what are you doing? You can't coach us, you're a girl. Yeah. And they just didn't give me the time of day. And, I'm not the coach to shout, or I'm not, to lay down my authority. So it's hard when boys or male players have that perception anyway. Yeah. But in Shelton it's been nothing but positive. It's, they don't see me as a female coach, which I think that's all you can ask for. I don't want to be a female coach. I just want to be a
coach, right? Yeah, and I think that's everyone should fall under the same banner. Is the way I see it. And it should be. And again, I think everyone can agree with. I think the world is behind on that in the coaching field, where I think it is still generally our female coaches will coach mainly the female teams, but boys coaches can coach both. And I think that's something that needs to change, and it will change over the next few years. And I know, for example, the Chelsea ladies coach, is it Emma Hayes? Before Frank Lampard got given the job, I know she was linked with taking the Chelsea men's job, and I would have been. I mean, Frank Lampard is my idol, so I'm glad he got the job. However, if Emma Hayes had got that job, I would have thought that would have been brilliant. It would have been a huge step for the women's game. Absolutely, And
I think the important part of her getting that job would be because she's good enough.
Yeah,
where,
of course.
Unfortunately, to make kind of compromises, a lot of female, you see in referees, especially now, a lot of female referees are put in situations, in high-level games where they're probably not qualified to, but they're just put there because they're females, and they're just not good enough, and that's not their fault. It's just
they've been put there. They've been put there more as a marketing tool as opposed to they're good enough. That's
kind of and you don't want that either. I would never want a job just to fit the we have a female coach now. We're all inclusive type of a thing. Where if you'd want a job because you're good enough, and if I'm not good enough, then don't give me the job. Yeah. So I think we kind of has to be that way, because unfortunately we're kind of getting in the thing of we just need to fit a certain amount of female coaches, and that's not going to benefit anyone.
I agree. Yeah. So it's an interesting topic that, again, we could talk about for a while, but I think we got a lot covered. So what we're going to do now is, guys, I'm going to pause it so that this can be the end of part 1, and then we'll do part 2.